Good morning and welcome to everybody in attendance. My name is James McCarnes. I work for Wageningen University in Research, as well as being a network facilitator for the ISSD Africa Community of Practice. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this conference on guiding seed sector transformation in Africa, durable solutions for systemic problems. Together with my colleague Arnab Gupta, I will be a technical host and contact point for all of the conference logistics. In a moment, I will hand over to Walter de Buff, who will moderate our opening session. But first, some points of order. All of the information you'll need for the conference can be found on the ISSD Africa website. If you are registered for the conference, or if you just happen to join here today, I advise you to subscribe to the ISSD Africa mailing list to receive the daily program in your inbox. During our program of sessions, panelists have the ability to control camera and microphone. As attendees, we encourage you to introduce yourself and share questions and reflections in the chat box. We've also created a sharing space on Padlet. Here, you can keep your discussions going, connect with other seed sector professionals, and share and access relevant articles, videos, announcements, and whatever you have on your mind. Now, over 500 people have registered for this conference, so I would be very happy to see many entries on our interactive map, so we can continue to build a global network. With that, I wish you a very enjoyable conference experience, and I now hand over to our session moderator, Walter de Buff. Walter, good morning.
Good morning, James. Good morning, everybody. I hope I'm clear from here. Welcome all to the team in Wageningen. Welcome everybody from Africa. I've seen people from Asia, perhaps some early risers in North America. But critically, I really want to welcome everybody from Africa joining in this conference. What we will do, I will introduce a little bit the program for today, provide some guidance through the session, and also then give the floor to a number of highly distinguished panelists who will basically open the conference. We will conclude the opening session with a panel, including the 4 panelists. Okay, so what we do today is we really celebrate actually achievements of 2 programs that are going to be that are in the stage of conclusion, as being the ISSD Ethiopia program, the ISSD Uganda program, and we also celebrate basically the community of practice of many people involved in the ISSD Africa program, which is still going on for a number of years. The support for those programs are basically coming from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from the Netherlands, and ISSD Africa is supported also in addition by the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation. So what you see here in ISSD Africa is we facilitate together with the Royal Tropical Institute this community, but critically it is a collaborative effort of many partners. You see all their logos here, so it's really something where people, participants in ISSD Africa will share their results, share insights, basically want to steer up discussions moving forward. Most critical for us, and I really want to share my appreciation of the entire team and network here, is our partnership with the African Union through the African Seed and Biotechnology Partnership Platform, the ASBP. I remember still very much one of the first meetings of ISSD Africa in Addis Ababa, where that partnership was fostered. And we have been really keeping around. We have been basically joining hands in this process. That's also why this session, the opening session, will be opened first by representatives of the African Union. Next slide, please. We have many partners, 22 presentations, lots of panels, discussions, and you see here many of the logos of different research organizations, government people, companies, international, national research, consultings, NGOs. Many different players will be talking, joining in panels the coming 3 days. And so what you will hear is the voices of many different persons all over Africa and other places in the world really active in the area of seed sector transformation in Africa. I don't want to mention one of them, but you can see all these different logos representing the different participants here. Next slide, please. But this whole event today and the coming 2 days is really something that has brought together a lot of work from different partners, but putting that together in this kind of virtual work has done a lot of work by my colleagues at the Wageningen University and Research within the Wageningen Center of Development Innovation and our long-term partners of the Royal Tropical Institute. We really worked hard and hope that this is going to be a very fruitful conference that's going to stimulate you in your work, that you can learn something, get new insights and perspectives. So this is basically the institutional background to today's presentation. So I want to move now to basically my role of presenting, opening up, giving the floor to our distinguished speakers. The first, I want to give the floor to share his opening remarks is Dr. Godfrey Bajigwa from the African Union Commission. Dr. Bajigwa is a director of the Directorate of Agriculture and Rural Development, part of the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment. Please, Dr. Bajigwa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, moderator. I'm happy to be here. Mr. Paul Mwambu, the Commissioner, Department of Crop Inspection and Certification, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of Uganda. Ms. Astrid Mastenbroek, Senior Policy Advisor, Food and Nutrition Security, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Netherlands. Dr. Maya Sesson, Senior Advisor, Wageningen Center for Development Innovation, Wageningen University and Research. I hope this is the same Maya that we interacted some years back. Yes, good to see you. It's been a while. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to commence with greetings from Her Excellency Ambassador Joseph Asako, the Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment of the African Union Commission. I wish to applaud the spirit of cooperation among the organizers of this conference, headed by the Wageningen Center for Development Innovation and the Royal Tropical Institute. Now, allow me to speak to the theme of the conference as introduced by the moderator, which is guiding seed sector transformation in Africa, seeking for durable solutions for systemic problems. I believe that there is consensus among all key players on the necessity of increasing the availability and use of quality seed to drive agricultural growth and improve farmer livelihoods to sustainably feed a growing population in a changing climate. Meeting the genetic, physical, and physiological and pathological attributes, such seed ought to be of new, improved, and preferred varieties by the users at the right time in correct product seed mixes and volumes. This uphill task requires a high level of coordination, strategic partnerships, and collaborative efforts at national, regional, and continental levels on several fronts. Ladies and gentlemen, it is against this background that the African Union Commission established the African Seed and Biotechnology Partnership Platform as an architecture to coordinate the implementation of the Africa Seed and Biotechnology Platform, the strategic framework for the development of the seed sector in Africa. This platform will be officially launched during this conference in the afternoon on Wednesday. The platform will improve decision-making and policy formulation, support evidence-based advocacy, and enhance knowledge sharing in the critical areas for establishing effective and efficient seed systems and enhanced application of biotechnologies and methodologies within the seed sector. Allow me to outline 6 of such areas. 1, institutional competence of seed-related outfits, robust quality seed value chains, functional regional economic communities with regional seed regulation and guidelines, ratification of seed international conventions by member states, enabling policy and legal frameworks at national, regional, and continental levels, and 6, scouting and learning the best global benchmarks in the areas of innovation, production, and marketing of quality seed. Dear participants, I'm aware that any efforts to transform the seed sector continentally must take into consideration the specificities cognizant of the different development stages of the seed sector among member states. These were identified and are well documented in the Seed Sector in Africa Status Report that was published recently by the African Union Commission. Bearing in mind, it is critical that the countries are stratified or grouped into different clusters so that the development or corrective efforts are equally stratified and targeted to enhance seed sector robustness and growth, which will be influenced by the status of a specific country or cluster of countries. This implies that the corrective measures will be more intense in some countries than in others, and the progress will be incremental, meaning that the gaps will persist for different durations among different countries. The African Union Commission understands the value of involving a diverse background of stakeholders to address the seed sector issues, hence the principle of subsidiarity. To this end, the African Union Commission has a strategy to draw on the seed expertise at national, regional, and continental levels to carry out a synthesis of the diverse systems, ideas, innovations, best practices, laws, policies, and institutional capacities in order to come up with a menu that can resonate and deliver within the African environment, including communities with indigenous knowledge and technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, as a continental body, the African Union Commission recognizes that individual member states' institutional governance and capacity challenges are systemic and will require high-level government interventions, political will, and commitment. While all elements of seed quality value chains have the said challenges, the most outstanding is the seed regulatory function, depending on a particular country, and is executed by the seed regulatory agencies or seed inspection units. This function is so critical in the determination of the status of the quality of seed reaching our farmers and other customers. Despite this critical significance of the function, we are also aware that a huge chunk of food crops, millets, sorghums, roots and tubers, and some legumes such as cowpeas, pigeon peas, and others are unregulated and are largely in the informal sector. It is hoped that this conference will come up with innovative and alternative seed quality assurance mechanisms which can complement the conventional regulation. This is particularly significant because the existing regulatory capacity cannot be enhanced enough to cope with all the crops whose quality value has to be improved and the corresponding growth of the seed sector. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end by pointing out that the African Union Commission is fully aware that there is no magic wand that can fix the Africa seed sector overnight. But a combination of strategies well implemented across the continent will result in incremental progress. The objective here is that every member state makes progress in the right direction under the oversight of the African Union's Africa Seed and Biosafety Program. In order to minimize failures, the African Union hopes to maximize the existing opportunity of international experiences and expertise together to share lessons, test the durability of solutions, and explore their potential to overcome root causes of common problems bedeviling the seed sector on our continent. For example, the transformative agenda, Global Agenda 2021, sees multiple important global summits, including the COP15 on the Convention on Biodiversity, the UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, the UN Nutrition for Growth Summit, and perhaps more importantly, the UN Food Systems Summit on food systems transformation that will be held in September this year. The conference will challenge contributors and participants alike to frame and direct the activities, insights, and ideas of this higher level aiming to equip attendees with a rapporteur of perspectives and aligned ambitions to carry out into the upcoming processes. The participants will be challenged to debate, interrogate, and test today's innovations on how the seed sector is functioning and the potential in realizing future continental seed sector ambitions. Going forward, building on successes and lessons learned from ISSD programs and collective wisdom from the conference, we will articulate a key message on the importance of seed in transforming and sustaining Africa's food systems to meet present and future food demand, to be included in Africa's common position that we are preparing to present during the UN Food Systems Summit in September. With that, I wish you all fruitful deliberations, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Godfrey. I think your introduction very much is in the spirit of what from Wageningen and from KIT we want to achieve with this conference. I think the program really zooms in at lots of the more systemic problems that we see. And I think also in your speech, you really highlighted what is basically building the capacity in the seed sector, but much more to take an integrated approach to address seed systems in the multiple crops that are very relevant for food systems in Africa. I really appreciate your opening remarks. Thank you very much. Let us move to the second opening speech. I would like to invite our representative from the Netherlands Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Astrid Masterbroek, to share our opening remarks. The floor is yours, Astrid.
Thank you very much, Walter. Good morning, distinguished panelists, Mr. Bujwa, my colleague from Uganda, Paul Mwamba, colleagues from the Integrated Seed Sector Development, and other attendees. I would like to appreciate also the Swiss Agency for Development for the collaboration in Integrated Seed Sector Development Africa. I would like to thank the Wageningen Center for Development Innovation and the Royal Tropical Institute and partners for organizing this conference. It's a great initiative for sharing and learning. Also, as the previous panelist has highlighted, together we can learn and we find what works on sector transformation and the messages that we have to keep forward. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Inclusive Green Growth Department, Food and Nutrition Security, we are supporting initiatives and programs that work on achieving SDG 2 getting people out of malnutrition and increasing productivity and income of small-scale food producers. So, as this conference is really at the core of agricultural growth, access to good quality seed for everyone to feed the growing populations. And COVID has also shown that the agricultural sector in the different countries is very important and a vital sector for improving growth. It has also shown that the local food systems are vital, and for these food systems to function well, we need access to quality seed. When I was preparing for this conference, I looked at the impressive list of countries and initiatives that we're supporting in seed sector development in different ways. Amongst others, Burundi, Ethiopia, Uganda, South Sudan, Benin, Mali, Niger, but also a collaborative group of international agricultural research, the CG centers, research funded by the EU together with World Vegetable Center and the Seed System Development Research. And also a public-private partnership amongst the Dutch seed companies together with the Ministry of Agriculture called SeedNL. All these programs contribute to SDG 2 and have 3 things in common. Access to quality seed is important for small-scale farmers, working together with national governments and their seed roadmaps, putting ownership with national governments, and as much as possible work on inclusive partnerships, so that there's a dialogue going on between public, private, and civil society to learn from each other and to strengthen each other. Also, this collaboration called SeedNL is born out of the integrated seed sector development experiences, but most of all on the Dutch experience of collaborating together. The Netherlands is well known for their vegetable seed varieties and companies that market this seed, as well as the potato. This sector also grew strong in collaboration together with national institutes such as inspection services and dialogue with civil society. So in that sense, it's collaboration which is really important because it creates space for dialogue and debate, and this will strengthen seed sector development. So it supports national governments in strengthening their enabling environment, capacity building of seed sector actors to create strong private sector, but also other institutes that support sector development, as well as networking and training and demonstrations for those that are using the varieties. So it's a collaboration which is really important. And we see in the spirit of integrated seed sector development and governing seed sector development that it's important to exchange experiences, to see what we can learn from each other, to create inclusive seed systems so that there's access to quality seed for all. And we've also heard from the previous panelist, not many small-scale farmers access seed from the informal seed system. So it's important to be inclusive, and transformation happens in contested areas. This includes also building further on climate change and the effects on seed systems. So as such, also, if we look at our food systems, it all starts with the seed. So the scenarios for the African seed sector for the coming decade are really important. And this is a great platform to debate the impact and the need for future-proofing strategies. With that, we also appreciate the African Union Commission and partners for launching the Africa Seed and Biotechnology Partnership Platform, which will be a driving force to prepare also the key messages on the African Food System Development for the UN Food System Summit. So with that, I would wish you all very good deliberations and see that we listen to each other and find our future ambitions towards governing seed sector development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Astrid. It's a very nice speech. You know that you now represent the Netherlands government as an important supporter since the early time for the ISSD programs in different countries. Even new ISSD programs are being launched today. So we really appreciate the support of the Netherlands government also to these programs. And of course, you're not only for us, many in the field here representing the Dutch government in this forum, you're also one of the ISSD family, of which I see many people in the audience represent that. Thank you for your opening remarks. We now go to a next panelist. Before I give the floor to Mr. Paul Mwambu, I want to recognize that we celebrate today and this week also the work that has been done in Uganda and Ethiopia. Unfortunately, today it's complicated to have representatives of our Ethiopian partners in the room. I'm very happy to see many of the members of the ISSD family in Ethiopia present as participants because of the elections that are today. We were reluctant to put somebody up front here. So I'm really happy they are here. But in that sense, I hope, Mr. Paul Mwamba, you are giving the floor representing Uganda as the government of Uganda, but especially also you represent in a way the different partner countries that we in the ISSD programs always really are sure to work with. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Distinguished participants and panelists, the ISSD family, and particularly Madame Astrid, who was the chief of party of ISSD in Uganda until a few years ago when she left us. Very nice to see you again, virtually, ladies and gentlemen. I want to present lessons learned in Uganda working with the ISSD on seed sector transformation within Uganda. Distinguished participants, let me just give a small overview of how our seed industry is structured in Uganda. Now, the Uganda seed subsector is characterized by coexistence of both formal and informal seed systems. And currently, our estimate is that the formal seed system contributes about only 10 to 15% of the estimated total seed requirements. And about 85%, therefore, of seed planted is obtained from informal sources, mainly farm-saved seed, local markets, and social networks. Now, to modernize agriculture, we strongly believe, like Dr. Wahigwa indicated, that we need to increase the quantity and quality of seeds available to farmers and for them to be able to adapt this technology and innovations. And also, we need to invest in institutional capacity building. Now, that was the situation, that was the situation of about 2013 before we engaged with the ISSD. Now, what did we exactly do? The contribution of ISSD to the seed sector transformation in Uganda. First and foremost, the ISSD, with ISSD support, the government of Uganda was able to develop and conclude the National Seed Policy, which was launched in 2019. And the aim of this policy is to achieve, among others, total elimination of fake seed products on the market. And the policy seeks to guarantee both small and commercial farmer access to sufficient supply of quality seed. This was a major contribution, and we are very proud of that. Now, we also worked with ISSD on seed policy evolution to create pluralism and facilitate an alternative seed system, which we call the QDS, Quality Declared Seed, for open pollinated varieties. And most of these are what Dr. Wahigwa referred to, and sometimes they are called orphaned crops, those crops that do not make business sense for the certified seed companies to produce seed. So basically, we, with the support of ISSD, we organized communities to engage in local seed businesses, whereby these local communities are trained in seed production. They were also supported in getting, breeder seed from the researchers, and using peer pressure in the community and the extension staff very close to them were able to produce and are continuing to produce quality seed of these OPVs at community level, and trading this seed within the community where they live. And this has fundamentally helped the communities to access high quality seed within the communities where they live. So when we saw this working on a pilot basis, we moved ahead and developed QDS regulations. These are regulations for guiding the quality declared seed processes, guiding on how the community constitutes itself into a local seed business, the role of the extension workers at district level in ensuring quality of the seed, the role of the national seed certification services in picking samples and testing and issuing certificates and labels on that seed, the limitations of the area in which the seed should be marketed, the role of the community members in exerting peer pressure and to ensure that what is produced meets the standard required, but also that the producer cannot bring a grain and mix in the seed and offer it for sale on the market. And we think that was a fundamental contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, with the still working with ISSD, we were able to train all extension workers in the project area. The extension workers at, Uganda is structured in such a way that from the country is broken into geographical administrative areas called districts. Then from a district, you go down to a sub-county. So we have extension workers at national level, at district level, and sub-county level. Now, in all our project areas and ISSD, we trained the local seed businesses together with the extension workers on their roles in quality assurance, in the field inspections, and in seed production. And this has been very helpful in ensuring quality at that level. So, and then also additionally, with the support of ISSD, we have been able to build a digital system that supports quality assurance along the value chain. We have been able to now digitize all our business processes from the breeders seed through the certified seed multiplication companies along the value chain up to the end user. And this is another very key achievement, because it now replaces the manual system that we were dealing with, and it was totally a problem. Because with this system, on our dashboard, we are able to tell how many seed companies are due to go back to pick seed from the breeders. We are able to know the planting returns after the seed companies have picked the breeder seed and planted. We are able to tell very quickly of how much seed is available in the onset of the planting season. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to confirm that the overall effect of all these interventions have been resoundingly contributed to farmer access to improved quality seed, especially in those communities which were under the project. So we want to thank you very much. And I think that for now, that's what I have to share. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your great reflection on ISSD Uganda. I think you really, sometimes in a moment like this, we have to think also back to where were we 10 years ago. And I think the story told by you gives a lot of pride, I think a lot for all the team in Uganda who worked hard on that, on the partnerships with your organization and many companies, but especially with the farmers who became seed producers. And in the end, I think the greatest recognition that you mentioned is that farmers use and access to quality seed of improved varieties from a variety of crops, not only the crops that, if we go back 10 years ago, quality of seed was available for a few crops. Now farmers can access quality seed for more crops at a regular basis in your country. I think that's the key point, and I think we feel very proud for this relationship that we have with you, and the great achievement that actually we discussed. And I think also we want to appreciate very much the inspiring work with the Ugandan government working, for example, on QDS, because I'm sure many of the brother and sister countries in your region and in the continent can learn a lot of that work. And I'm sure we're going to zoom in that more in detail. Thank you very much. Let us move to the next opening remarks, which is very interesting for me to basically introduce my sister in arms in ISSD, Maya Tyson. Maya today will represent the opening remarks on behalf of our organization, Wageningen University and Research. Maya, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Walter. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all dignitaries, partners, and participants, all protocol observed. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all joining us for the opening session of the conference Guiding Seed Sector Transformation in Africa. The world population has more than doubled over the past 50 years to almost 8 billion and is projected to reach almost 10 billion in 2050. The demand for food is increasing. At the same time, we see increasing land degradation, with increasing pressure on the remaining land suitable for agriculture, as well as pressure on other resources, like quality water. Society demands for healthier, more nutritious food, which is at the same time produced in a sustainable way. And yet, we are in the midst of a climate crisis, as well as a global COVID-19 pandemic. How do we achieve a transformation towards sustainable food systems, achieving food security nutrition security and healthy diets, with limited negative environmental impacts, and with improved socioeconomic welfare. This is what is to be addressed in the upcoming United Nations Food System Summit. What are the actions, solutions, and strategies needed for progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, which rely on healthier, more sustainable, and more equitable food systems? But how does food security link to seed? Experts estimate that 50% of the current yield gap, which is the gap between potential yields and the yields actually achieved in practice, can be closed by using improved cropping practices, while the other 50% can be closed by using quality seeds of improved and adapted varieties. Many farmers in Africa lack access to quality seed. There's an urgent need to increase farmers' access to quality seeds of varieties that are high yielding, resistant to pests and diseases, fitting the demands of consumers and markets, and are adapted to the farming system and resilient to climate change. High quality seed of these varieties needs to be available at the right time, the right place, in the right quantity, and at an affordable price. This requires functional seed systems. And the seed sector consists of multiple seed systems. It's a complex sector with many different stakeholders, many different activities, and many different issues at play. Over the past decade, our seed team at Wageningen University and Research, together with our colleagues at the Royal Tropical Institute in Amsterdam, in collaboration with numerous national and international partners, have supported the development of the seed sectors in various countries in Africa. All these initiatives aimed at increasing farmers' access and use of quality seed, of improved and farmer-preferred varieties of multiple crops. The aim was to improve crop productivity and thereby improve food security, nutrition, and income of smallholder farmers. We generally took a sector-wide development approach with interventions aimed at strengthening the performance of operators and service providers throughout the seed value chain. Key interventions focus on supporting the development of structures for sector coordination and facilitating policy formulation and seed regulatory reform. A lot of emphasis was given also to the development of capacities of stakeholders at all levels. Seed sector transformation does not target quick fixes, but aims at solving the root causes of problems, finding sustainable solutions for long-lasting sustainable change. And as Astrid also mentions, partnerships are key to achieve such change. As Walter mentioned, this year we closed our integrated seed sector development programs in Ethiopia and Uganda. But at the same time, we see many new seed sector development initiatives starting, like ISSD Sahel, the collaborative seed program in Nigeria, A3 Seed in South Sudan. And we are in the middle of our current phase of ISD Africa, which is a community of practice uniting practitioners working on complex seed sector challenges of continental importance. We organized this conference to serve as a platform to bring international experience and expertise together, to look backward and to look forward. We want to explore how seed sector transformation contributes to food systems outcomes. We will share technical and institutional innovations. We will learn about multiple pathways, and we will discuss this from diverse perspectives to find new solutions and insights. I hope that you can agree with us that together with our partners, we developed a very interesting program. And I hope you can join us in many of the sessions to share your experiences and insights, and together search for the best pathways and game changers for contributing through seed sector transformation to food systems outcomes. Last but not least, I want to mention our partnership with the African Union Commission And I want to invite you all to the Wednesday afternoon session, where immediately after closing this conference, the African Union Commission will launch the African Seed and Biotechnology Partnerships Platform. Please also join in this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maya. I think you very clearly shows how from Wageningen University Research, but in our partnership within WCDI and with KIT, we have a really continued commitment to move forward working in this space, working in different seed programs at national level, and also to move forward in the continental level. And I think today's and the tomorrow and day after tomorrow discussions are really key for also sharpening more our work, and I hope also many of the other present here. Thank you. Let us move to the next part of today's opening session. I would like to give you a little bit of context where in developing the program we have positions. And I'm really happy that Dr. Bahija also already made the reference to the different summits that are happening to me. Of course, many of us start to really prepare ourselves to the immediate one that is on the top, is the UN Food System Summit. Of course, we cannot do that without looking at biodiversity, at climate change, and at nutrition. But what we see really is different in the Food Summit, and we hope we as a global community, and let us try already today, these days within the conference, is that if we take food systems really serious, basically it is not about single SDGs. It is not just about food security and nutrition. It's not just about equality and sovereignty in food or justice. It's not just about climate adaptation and resilience and all other aspects. It's how we bring those together. And in our view, food systems, and we hope that at the Food System Summit, that will happen. I think the days that we are here in the conference, we will explore different ways how we can work within the concept of food systems, look for game changers, what are different drivers that they can bring together, where the different aspects of food systems come, we as seed community can contribute, learning from our experiences over the years, and also strategizing what are actions for the future. Next slide, please. So what are the key objectives? We positioned the key objectives of the Guiding Seed Sector Transformation Africa conference within the context of the UN Food System Summit 21. Really to see what is our collect potential contribution to transformation. And when we refer to transformation, we refer to transformation of the food systems in the direction of reaching better food security, increased food security and nutrition, while also addressing socioeconomic and environmental aspects. And of course, this Food System Summit is not single. I think earlier already mentioned other programs, aspects already, and especially in Africa, the continental agenda are very relevant. We frame and direct activities, insights and ideas by a great diversity of contributors and participants. And we equip basically also the attendees with a quite broad repertoire of practices, perspectives, and perhaps we seek some alignment in ambitions, how we can contribute it at the global agenda, the African agenda, but also particularly the agenda of seed sector transformation in each of your countries up to the level of local communities, because that's in the end where things happen. Next slide, please. So what we want to do is really learn lessons from a multiple, what we say, call system innovations. The example given earlier on introduction of quality declared seed is such a system innovation that basically boosts the whole sector in catering for needs for specific crops and thereby farmers. We really want to look for ways to strengthen seed policies and programs through the exposure of multiple activities in the continent. And also we have set it up as much as possible to facilitate debates and dialogues. Even though we are in this virtual environment, we really have structured as much as possible to have debates, dialogues between different people. And so they really can come, we can make the switch from what can we learn from what we did and what we are doing to what we want to do for the future. So what we will have is basically a very rich and very diverse program. Even if you look at it, the voices in the program, sometimes they may conflict with each other. That's good, because there's no one way forward. One of the critical things of ISSD that we really want to cherish and continue in our work guiding seed sector transformation, there's no one path. So you'll see the topics and system innovations, all of them that are mentioned on the list on the right here. Many different elements will appear, and please look for what is in your interest. And if you don't know any of those topics, go and see, maybe it's something very interesting to come. We have different topics, system innovations, what are the successful practices and actions, and what can we really do to strengthen countries, stakeholders, sectors moving forward. What we will have presented today, we have a final plenary session where we close, and also on Wednesday, before we move from the guiding sector, seed sector transformation Africa program to the session organized by the Commission of the African Union, that we will have a closing session where we really have a panel reflecting on the different aspects or the topics that were mentioned here. So let us move to the next slide, please. So here you see basically staying connected. So this closes my introduction on the program. I would like to have the other panelists, other members in the opening session also to put on their camera, because we want to, did not ask them only to share the opening remarks, but we also requested them really to join presenting their points and also join in the first debate here. Just a quick question to see if Dr. Bajiga is still around. I don't know. No, okay. Okay, then first I would like to go in my question to Astrid. Astrid, we go beyond formalities, and let's call us by our first names. We talk a lot about the UN Food Summit here, and you see also food and nutrition, food security and nutrition are considered very important here. And of course, in food systems, these are not independent. And I think you have a lot of experience on the ground, but you also nowadays participate in the more abstract debates in The Hague on food systems and how the Netherlands government is positioning itself in preparing. And also you come with a big expert look from your time also in Uganda, and you know seed systems very well. So can you give some examples from your experience, but also looking from The Hague to the different programs, how, let's say, seed sector transformation really can contribute to improving food security and nutrition?
Yes, thank you very much, Walter. As you were mentioning, I have experience both on the ground, but as well as in the dialogues that we have within the ministry. And it also poses the risk of providing a very abstract answer. So I was looking on how to best answer this question, and I was thinking of two ways. On the one hand, from the ministry, we are really looking towards where there is energy. So which action tracks, which solutions that have been formulated by different stakeholders and actions is a lot of energy, and we want to support that, rather than maybe picking out one or two things, because then we go again beyond the philosophy of the food systems, which should be kind of inclusive and weighing the different aspects against each other. So that makes it also really hard to come up with practical examples, because as soon as I give an example, I exclude many other internalities that becomes externalities.
Yeah.
So we look very much at the national dialogues that are happening in the different countries, as well as we had one in the Netherlands as well as the independent dialogues. And maybe you have seen and followed, there are many dialogues going on. Personally, I attended one on African seed system resilience, which was really good on discussing future proofing, looking at climate change, inclusiveness, and ownership of seed sector development in different countries. And I think that was a good example of ownership, taking ownership and initiative. Mm-hmm. So that's also where I do really appreciate the African Union taking leadership within the continent. The same also other dialogues that are going on. I think the most important thing is that we do together, as you also mentioned, is listen to each other and not create separate solutions that feed our personal beliefs and systems, because as you mentioned, they're opposing ideas within seed sector transformation on importance. And I think there, as you mentioned, different pathways. So I think this is really the key of the food system and food system summit, to be open-minded and to listen to each other. And I think in that way, guiding seed sector transformation, this conference, GSST Africa, is really a good example of being in dialogue with each other, listen to each other, and together in the uncomfortable, maybe uncomfortable truth and systems that people believe in, that we believe in, we listen to each other and we come to other solutions. I think that's really the key for me as an example.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I think you put really your finger also on the difficult point of food system thinking, because sometimes if we choose for one climate adaptation, it has consequences on the others. So this issue of trade-offs is critical at the food system level, and we are now, by taking these together, we are pushed in that direction. So we really have to start listening. And actually, that you also bring that now to us working as the bigger family or the bigger community of seed sector professionals working for Africa, that we really listen, go out of our comfort sometimes to see, okay, there's multiple ways, and only by that way we can move forward. I see that, thank you very much, Astrid. I see that Dr. Godfrey is back. So I would like now to go more from your perspective, Astrid, to a more continental perspective. You mentioned also that, Dr. Godfrey, that in the during and we are very happy with the linkage with the union, the Commission on that, is that we will launch after this event the Africa Seed and Biotechnology Partnership Platform. If you think about the Food Systems Summit and the importance of improving food security and nutrition, but also the many socioeconomic and environmental aspects which are critical for Africa in its development for the coming decades. Can you give examples from your experience and how you see seed systems are critical in the agenda of the African Union, for example, in CAADP, the Africa Climate Change Agenda, but also looking towards the food system actions coming up and that we are now debating in ahead of the Food Summit. The floor, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator. In the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CAADP, which is encapsulated in the Malabo Declaration of 2014, one of the key goals or targets is doubling agricultural productivity in Africa between 2015 and 2025. doubling agricultural productivity. That is a specific target that our heads of state and government committed to in 2014. And to do so means increasing yields on the continent of the various crops that we produce. And at the heart of raising agricultural productivity is seed, growing and producing quality seed for our farmers to adopt. So that is why at the African Union Commission, we have re-energized ourselves through our SBP to make sure that we support seed sector development, because we know in order to achieve that target of doubling agricultural productivity, we have to be very serious in seed sector development. So that is point number one. Point number two, in terms of the work that we want to do, we want to make sure that we mobilize both the public sector and the private sector. Because we know world over, yes, a lot of primary and applied research is done by public institutions, but when it comes to multiplication and distribution, the private sector comes in quite very strong. And so we want to make sure that we work with our member states and regional economic communities to make sure that we work to strengthen the private sector to play its rightful role in ensuring that there are strong distribution systems on the continent for seed to move along. Third point is also working with regional economic communities and member states to ensure there is seed policy harmonization that would facilitate trade of seed across borders. And with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that is now operational, we want to make sure that we are ready to support through seed policy harmonization, improved trade in seed among our member states. At the same time, we want to make sure that we invest in quality seed production. So sanitary and phytosanitary measures will be key. And through our regional office in Yaoundé, the Inter-Africa Phytosanitary Council, we want to make sure that we invest in improving plant health and seed-related aspects of that are going to be very important. As we speak, we are working on developing the Africa plant health strategy. And I hope this will be one aspect of that. My last comment is going forward, especially as we look into the upcoming UN Food System Summit. Yes, there's no contention that across the continent, everybody believes having strong food seed systems that produce quality seed, and they need to make this available to farmers. I think there is no contention about that. But I think what we are looking for going into the Food Systems Summit is the game-changing solutions, the game-changing proposal. In other words, what is actually out there that is working? Because one of the principles in identifying the game-changing solutions was evidence-based solutions. So what I would want to appeal to this community here is if you can send us examples of where actually the seed systems are getting transformed in Africa. Because when I listen to Paul, it seems that a lot of work has taken place over the years in Uganda. Now, if that is working, we would want a summary of that, so that then when it is presented, other countries on the continent can learn from it, because it is based on evidence that it is actually working, it is making a difference. So I end my remarks by requesting that we get maybe half a page that summarizes this Uganda experience or any other, especially in Africa, that actually is working, so that we can present it as a game-changing proposal. Over, and thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate for you starting to use the word game changers. And I remember also when we started to work with seed systems upon the food security crisis in 2008, we really took it forward to move forward. And that what you saw then is that many of these strategies, they came up with blueprints. And we know that blueprints don't work. So I think with food systems, we really want to make sure that there are different pathways in that, adapted to the countries, but also adapted to the different crops and situations. And I think the diversity in this perspective is there. And on your point of evidence, is I think I'm going to give the floor after you to Maya. That's also really a critical role where we want, as Wageningen University and Research, we always will, as a knowledge center, and partner to the union and also to the many partners in Africa to promote innovations based on evidence. Maya, let me take the question to you. It was also, let's say, we mentioned game changers came already on the floor, but maybe we always have to find a way how these aspects come together in food systems and also in seed systems. So I like to zoom in now a little bit how food security and nutrition, the contribution of seed systems to that. At the same time, there is a direct relationship with environmental aspects, such as climate smart agriculture, increasing resilience of production systems, nature inclusive production systems, which is one of the action tracks also in. Can you give me an example how you see the discussions and how, on the basis of the experience that really can take forward, and how we can basically promote the discussion of these two elements in food systems, how they relate to each other, and what is our position in seed systems there?
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Walter. I think when we talk about environmental outcomes, we talk about sustainable production systems. And then I think crop improvement has a big role to play. So the development of varieties that are resistant to pests and diseases, the development of new varieties that fit with the changing climates, for example, drought-resistant varieties. And so crop improvement can really give a great contribution to making production systems more sustainable. At the same time, we also need to think of the conservation and the sustainable use of genetic resources that we already have, that are in farmers' fields, but which are also actually the basis for further crop improvement. So how do we conserve these genetic resources in situ as well as on farm? And how do we give farmers access to a diversity of crops and varieties that do well under their circumstances? And indeed, again, then in the design of our interventions, we need to make choices. Where do we invest our money? And we can only do it once. And then breeding for white adaptation is equally important than breeding for the selection or providing farmers access to varieties that do very well in their localities. So there I also see some trade-offs.
Okay, so yeah, so there are trade-offs, but so that comes also is how we approach seed systems and production systems. So I think if we want to take serious really the environmental aspects, it puts some boundaries and basically, and also it guides us how we approach seed systems in production systems. Okay, I'm lost. Okay, so what I really want to do next is ask a question to, I have to put on the light almost. So I want to ask Astrid another question. Based with Maya, we zoomed in more on the environmental aspects. I'm sure also if we take the link between formal and informal systems, issues of ownership, autonomy, also farmers deciding themselves what to do, justice. Lots of people talk about also seed sovereignty. These are all aspects that come in at the stake. Can you see how, if we move forward in this conference, positioning seed systems within the food systems, zooming in on more the socio-economic and sometimes even cultural aspects that are relevant here? Can you share some light there?
Yes, thank you, Walter. I think it's important to put farmer seed systems or farmer resilient seed systems at the center of the dialogue. So in that sense, we've also heard earlier, 85% of the seed still comes from the informal seed systems. So there are many indigenous varieties that have either a high cultural as well as a high nutritional value that should not be forgotten, and also be supported and stimulated, that there's enough space in seed policies, in the regulatory environment, but also supporting these systems to sustain. Because when we talk about sector development, we sometimes tend to think still about more formalizing even informal systems, yet as we already mentioned earlier, we want all these paths to move alongside each other and have this cross kind of fertilization from the strengths. So I think that, especially from the socioeconomic, but also from, if we think about the food system from the other side, the consumers, I think we also have a responsibility to provide nutritious and healthy diets to the bottom of the pyramid consumers. And those also operate in semi-formal and more informal environments. So both affordability is important, but also the kind of crops and foods that are promoted. And then in that way, we also come back to this, the indigenous varieties and others. So that's also why I was earlier making a plea to have one arena to come up with game changers, where we debate and dialogue with each other in a respectful way, acknowledging that there are different paths.
Okay, thank you very much. It's what I find very interesting, even already in the first session, that it basically reinforces some of what we call the guiding principle of ISSD, that we really want to keep taking those forward, accepting that the principles of there are different systems, but we basically we also in this conference we really have to make sure we remain advocates of some of those guiding principles. Also, how we enter the whole food system dialogue and the position of seed systems in that, and also when I, for example, hear Maya often introducing integrated seed sector development with all the different systems, she always talks what are the different sources of seeds that farmers use at the farm. And they represent farm seed till seed that comes from the community, from neighbors or relatives, seed that is bought in a shop or from a local company, all until the seed that is purchased from global operating seed companies. So, and that is where the reality comes. And I think what you do is also you bring in Astrid, also the aspect of, okay, with food systems, it's not just about farmers. It's in the end also about consumers, that they have the access to food and a healthy diet. So I think that's an important point. We have to observe a little bit at the time. So we have 5 minutes left in this question. So maybe let me ask opportunity. Is there any kind of general reflection of the conversation we had so far you want to make, Astrid? So I can also give the final floor to Maya.
Yes, well, I think you've already summarized it. What comes up is food system, seed sector transformation is really diverse. And in our discussions, we have to be cognizant of the diversity as well as finding game changers. So I wish everybody really good deliberations during this conference, and pick out the uncomfortable truths, as they say, the things you're not used on, as well as the evidence of things that work. As the representative of the African Union was mentioning, there's so many things going on. So listen to each other and pick out the fruits that will make also the new innovations come out. Because only by trying, I know from experience in Uganda, only through dialogue, trying and open minds, this is how some of the changes were affected.
Okay, thank you very much, Astrid. Maya, what are your closing remarks for this session? And we will hear you many times still, but what are your closing remarks for this session?
Thank you very much, Walter. And I can only agree with what Astrid is saying. I think when we talk about food systems, we need to consider these different outcomes at food security level, at socioeconomic level, and environmental level. And I think we need to take care of that in designing our interventions. And who are our target groups? What are our objectives? What do we want to achieve? And then it's important to make sure who do we want to reach and remove barriers for participation, who needs to benefit, whose well-being do we want to improve, and what about empowerment? How can we support target groups in their abilities to make strategic choices? We can talk about trade-offs and compromises, but I rather prefer to talk about complementarity and looking at the different tracks, all contributing to a similar larger objective of food security. And I'm sure we will have many interesting discussions in this conference, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your nice inputs, Astrid and Maya. I also want to appreciate the Commissioner, Mr. Paul Mwambu, who unfortunately could not stay on. We have sometimes difficulties with connections. And also I want to appreciate Dr. Bajiga for his contributions. Both shared really wise words, where's the direction, one from a continental perspective, and also with Mr. Mwambu, really from a perspective from one of the leaders in the seed sector in one of our partner countries. I want to close this session. I want to thank the audience for being around. And I hope it was an interesting session, but I'm sure many, many more interesting sessions, more detailed, more debating type of sessions will come the coming 3 days. The floor is back to you. Thank you, James.
Thank you very much, Walter, and thank you to all of our panelists, Astrid and Maya, and Dr. Godfrey and Commissioner Paul in absentia, who dropped away a short time ago. Yeah, many thanks for everybody for joining in already, not only in this session, but also on the share space on Padlet. We're very happy to see all of the activity going on there. A reminder, as Walter and the other panelists have indicated, we have a quite packed and lively conference program, and we don't really pause for too long. In about 10 to 12 minutes or so, we'll get going with our next, and I suppose first proper session, I suppose, for the conference on guiding seed sector transformation for food system outcomes. An important topic which we've already alluded to in the discussions in this session. So we will take a break for about 10 minutes. Walter, in particular, please go refresh yourself and take us through this next session. So thank you very much for now, and we'll connect again shortly.